bizarre thing where a person would be extremely practicing. This is something I would see, for example, a lot more in Muslim countries. When I was living in Pakistan growing up or studying in Egypt, I would see this a lot. This guy, mulhi, long beard, mashallah, you would say, Allahu Akbar, I should hire this guy. And the guy comes and rips you off. And then you're left scratching your head. Like, I see this guy at the masjid for Fajr and Dhuhr, and now he comes and, rips me off. I don't understand this. It's very common, but it can't be. This is not the norm. That's not the norm. That's not what the deen teaches us. To the exact contrary, the deen teaches us that you have to be honest fully and go above and beyond. That is a characteristic of a believer. That itself, that right there is what defines a great believer. The Messenger of Allah, there's a few things to note here that's interesting in this narration. The main point is honesty and business and dealings and transactions and how this is part of our deen. It's not something that is a good to do or good to know thing. No, it is essential to our deen. That's the point number one. The other thing to understand here is observing how the Messenger of Allah was so gentle. He was the best of people. And in every aspect. And the aspect that stood out the most is how he dealt with people who were adversaries. Sheikh Salman al-Auda, may Allah free him, said this once. He says, if we were to treat our brothers like the Prophet treated his enemies, he will be all in a better place today. Allahu Akbar. And it's so true. The way he treated his enemies who tried to scheme and plot against him. The munafiq Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, who at every step of the way tried to sabotage the Prophet ﷺ, every step of the way. And yet, when he died, the Messenger of Allah forgave everything that he had done and was praying for him. Umar wanted to stop him. كيف تصلي عليه يا رسول الله وقد قال يوم كذا كذا وقد فعل يوم كذا كذا. He did this on that day, he said this on that day. How can you pray for his forgiveness? And the Messenger of Allah said, إليك عني يا عمر إني خيرت فاخترت. I was given a choice and I've chosen to forgive him. I've chosen to make dua for him. This was the man who spent his entire living life in Medina trying to sabotage the Prophet ﷺ in every step of the way, and yet the Messenger forgave him. That's how he treated his enemies ﷺ. And do we have among ourselves the vastness of our heart, as the expression goes, the forgiveness to oversee and overlook and forgive our brothers and sisters who are not hypocrites, who are not our enemies, we're all together in this. We're all praying in the same masjid. We all want the same things. We all want the community to be together. We all want to be flourishing as a Muslim community. We all want our kids to grow up practicing Islam. We all want the same things. Yet, we have these differences that cannot be reconciled. Why? Why is that? It's something for us to pause and think. The Messenger of Allah was not like that. This stood out among his characters of all his things that are excellent. Everything about him that was excellent, this stood out the most. فَأَغْلَظَ لَهُ. This man came and he was rude. The Messenger was not rude to him. Even though he had no right to be rude. The due date was not up yet. The Messenger of Allah could have said, it's not due yet. I will pay you when it's due. He could have said that. He could have said, why are you speaking to me so rudely? Speak to me respectfully. That was his right. He didn't say any of that. Immediately, he tells the Sahaba, let it be, de-escalating. Pay him his money. Pay him his money. There's multiple instances like that. A man comes and grabs the Messenger of Allah from the collar of his neck. Again, demanding payment. The scholars comment on this. The Messenger of Allah will go take debt from people. Why would he do that? Why would he not go ask Abu Bakr or Uthman for money if he was short of something? The scholars comment that he's doing this to show us how when you take a debt and then your debtor comes and seeks the payment, how is it that you're supposed to treat them and deal with them? Those manners and etiquettes. Had he sought debt from Uthman or Abdurrahman ibn Auf, they would not have even asked him back. But this is all done as a teachable moment for the rest of us. This is some of the scholars who write the sharh of like Shaykh Ali Sabuni and others who explain ahadith and the wisdom why the Prophet ﷺ did what he did. He took a loan from a Jewish person once. Why? Because he wanted to show us how do you deal with people when you are doing business with them who are not of the same faith as you. All of these are teachable moments, and here he's teaching us that when someone is angry, someone is rude, even though they don't have a right, you don't have to be rude at that time. You can take another path, you can de-escalate. And this was his way, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why his enemies became his most staunch followers. That's why that happened. You look at Suhail ibn Amr. You look at Amr ibn al-As. These people spent most of their adult life fighting the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when they accepted Islam, the only one that mattered to them was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's how he changed hearts, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how he did it. With gentleness, with kindness, with forgiveness. It's not when a person in this moment, in that transaction, it seems like the one who's rude has won and the one who was calm and respectful has lost. We might think that, but to the contrary, man tawada'a lillah rafa'ahu Allah. The one who lowers themselves for the sake of Allah, Allah raises them. This is such a difficult thing to implement, but this is min makarim al-akhlaq. This is the highest level of etiquettes. This is from the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah. Again and again you will observe it. This is what he wanted to teach us when he took all these debts and all these transactions that he did with people who would not treat him with the same love and reverence that the Sahaba would. To teach us how all of us afterwards should do business. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The third thing to note here also is the Sahaba gave him something that was greater than what he was owed. And this is technically from a fiqh perspective not riba. If you are owed money, say if I was to borrow $100 from somebody, or better example, if I was to give a loan of $100 to somebody, and if I demand that they pay me $110, that $10 extra would be riba. Okay? But if out of the goodness of their heart, the one they're returning their money back to me, they give me a gift on top of that. That is a gift, that is not riba. And here is the evidence for that. That the Sahaba gave, and the Rasulullah actually commanded them to give a camel that was that's worth more than the camel that the Prophet purchased from him. Giving him more than what he deserved, and that's not considered riba. So this is something that's interesting to see here. But the larger point remains how the Messenger of Allah said, أحسنكم فإن خيركم أحسنكم قضاءً. The best of you are those who are the most honest when they're doing business. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه أما بعد. On this note about how as believers we are to be exemplary in the way we do business, in the way we're honest. Our honesty should stand out. Our honesty should shine. Just like the Messenger of Allah's honesty shone bright and inspired people. It inspired them to see the truth of his message. Similarly, if we are to be honest, it will inspire others to see the truth of what we believe in. Our lifestyle, it would maybe even make them want to consider why. I'll give you an example. There's a great athlete, a famous athlete, Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the great basketball players of all time. If you hear people talk about Hakeem, and I don't want to make the khutbah about him, but if you hear people talk about him, he's a basketball player. But they talk about his honesty. They talk about his generosity. They talk about how he never lied. People who were his teammates, people who were around him, people remember that stuff. People remember these things. It's not often that people will remember what, how much money we made or what our credentials are, but they will remember how we treated them. And this is how the Messenger of Allah is setting up the example for us. That here is a person who is rude, disrespectful, you treat him with respect, you de-escalate. And you remain honest even if that person perhaps does not have the right to demand of you. The Messenger of Allah said in a beautiful hadith, he said, may Allah have mercy. Rahimallahu rajulan. May Allah have mercy on the person. Here the man, the word rajul is used man, but it is for both genders because the idea is not gender specific. May Allah have mercy on the person. Samhan idha ba'a. Who is easygoing when they're buying and when they're selling and when they are trying to get money that's owed back to them. Instead of being this power-hungry tyrant, demanding and making people's lives miserable, they're gentle and asking for what their right is in a respectful and gentle manner. May Allah have mercy on that person. Such a beautiful dua. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ is making dua not for like the one here who's praying salah or reading Quran. He's making dua for the person how they're doing business. The way they do business is with honesty, with kindness, with gentleness, with forgiveness. He's making dua for them. And he says, and then this is the final narration I'll leave you with, that حُوسِبَ رَجُلٌ مِمَّنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ. There was a man before Islam, meaning before the advent of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was held accountable. فَلَمْ يُوجَدْ لَهُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ شَيْءٍ. Nothing, there was no good that he had done. There was no ritual act of worship, nothing. إِلَّا أَنَّهُ كَانَ يُخَالِطُ النَّاسِ وَكَانَ مُوسِرًا. The only thing that was found in his record of deeds that was good was that he would interact with people. Meaning, he would do business with people. He was a businessman. And when he would do business, he was easygoing. He would forgive people who owed him money, or he would seek his right gently. وَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ غِلْمَانَهُ أَنْ يَتَجَاوَزُوا عَنِ الْمُعْسِرِ. And he would tell his servants, his employees, that if there's someone who's in a tight spot, who can't pay back the debt that they're owed, let them go. Let them go. Forgive them. It's okay. قال الله عز وجل نحن أحق بذلك منه تجاوزوا عنه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comments on this. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has more right to forgive. It's more appropriate that He acts in this forgiving manner. So He ordered the malaika to forgive this person's sins, despite the fact that his record of deeds was empty. Of course, the precondition of tawheed is there. We cannot, misunderstand the narration. This person worshipped Allah alone, did not associate partners with Allah, but besides that, had no ritual good deeds. Except how he dealt with people with kindness and gentleness, and particularly those who owed money to him, how he was kind and gentle with them and forgiving to them. And because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave his sins. And this is a hadith, is Rawahu Muslim, that's in Sahih Muslim. So these are beautiful examples for the Sunnah, meant to inspire us, meant to make us realize that our deen is more than ibadat. It is mu'amalat and ibadat. It's two things together. It's the worship and how we interact with each other, how we do business with each other. It's to emphasize honesty above everything. Truthfulness above everything. This is what matters to us. This is who we are. This is what is a defining characteristic of a believer. And it's to show that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ really acted in the best way possible. Showed us how the best way is when it is to deal with people, which is with gentleness and with respect, even if a person is being disrespectful. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to understand the Quran and Sunnah and to implement in our lives. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin fil awwalin wa fil akhirin wa salli ala Muhammadin fil mala'il a'la ila yawmiddin. Allahumma ahyina ala sunnatihi wa mitna ala millatihi wa ahshurna fi zumratihi wa asqina min hawdihi ya rabbal alamin. Allahumma ati nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم ارحم موتانا وعاف مبتلانا وفك قيد أسرانا وتقبل شهداءنا واشف مرضانا يا رب العالمين. وقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استقيموا تراصوا واعتدلوا. Please make sure the lines are straight and leave no gaps. This is the other one. استووا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. فذكر إنما أنت مذكر
لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله. استغفر الله. استغفر الله. اللهم السلام.